So, welcome back to That Is Effing Weird. We will be doing a fishbowl today. I'm not alone. We have a special guest on. But before we introduce the guest, let's introduce ourselves. I am Alex.
I am Clark.
I'm Seth.
And we have Grindhouse back on. You have probably heard his voice before. This is not the first episode that he has been on. But you know what? He wanted to be a part of this fishbowl. So we asked him to be a part of it. Thank you for joining us, Grindhouse.
Oh, absolutely, dudes. And I'll just apologize in advance for my opinions. They are not those of That's Effing Weird.
Well, we tell our audience, like don't take anything that we say seriously, and you probably shouldn't listen to us anyways. But Fishbowl, how it works, if this is your first time listening to it, we have a spinning wheel usually, but I actually have a more of a fishbowl-esque type thing in front of me where I'm going to be picking subjects. I'll talk about them till we're pretty much done talking about it, and then we'll move on to the next one. None of the guys here know what I've put in this fishbowl. However, they do have their Googles pulled up just to look at some information. So, are you guys ready for the first topic?
Absolutely, Alex.
Let's do it.
Why'd you say it like that, Seth?
I'm ready to go. This is a game show.
Yeah.
Now I got it. Okay. Just give me a second. I'm tired of
your
little
answers, Grindhouse, all of your answers must start with what is.
Well,
All right.
But what if I'm closest without going over? Does that count too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Similar.
Okay.
No whammies and no whammies. If you get a whammy, God damn it, I will come hunt you down.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I thought you were younger than I am, Clark. Well, how the fuck do you know what a whammy is? Did you not have cable? You didn't have cable growing up, did you?
I have
sorry.
a lot of cable, so no, it's.
Oh, shit. I didn't have any cable. Okay. Well, this is just. I'm all over the place. All right, let's go.
All right. First subject that we have or topic is the cloaked UAP during 9/11. Have you guys heard about this?
I have not.
No, I don't think I have actually.
All right. Well, supposedly there is a picture of a UFO flying by one of the towers as it's burning. I can't remember if it's both or one. I'm sure Google has a picture of it. I'm sure this is nothing new. But I stumbled upon it, and I just wanted you guys' opinions on it. So, what do you guys think?
I'm trying to look up a photo.
I actually want to propose the whole people want to see UFOs in or UAPs, I guess we should say, in a lot of important historical events. So, I feel like maybe people are just saying that it's like, oh, this is spotted here. Now, if there's actually some kind of photographic evidence, I would like to see it. But I feel like in any important event, it's a thing where people are like, oh, aliens were watching.
So there is a book that you're 100% correct, Clark. There's a book that I read. The title of it is UFOs During Wartime. I cannot remember the author. If I do remember it, I can post a link or a picture of it in the photos, podcast photos. But nevertheless, you're correct. There's been plenty of incidences where soldiers have reported seeing lights over like missile silos, bases, things like that, where important things are going on, and UFOs, maybe intelligent life wants to see what we're doing. I would say that if there's something going on, destruction wise, if intelligent life is going to want to, find out why or like what's going on. So the picture itself, the one, Seth, did you find one or no?
I found a couple. The problem is all the 9/11 footage is like VHS tape. So I found a few. Let me see if I can hold on. they're zooming in on these little blips right beside the planes as they go into the tower. But your whole thing about the historical thing, I've seen, I forget what documentary it was. It was basically a missile silo, not in the United States. I forget where it was. That there were a few UAPs that came in, stayed there for a while, and then the entire missile silo malfunctioned, and they couldn't do launch or any testing on it, and they had to like do a whole bunch of repairs. And I believe that's well documented, that particular case. I don't remember which country it happened to though. Here's one where people are like circling stuff. I'm gonna download that and put it in. I'll put it in podcast
photos.
chat or photos. Yeah.
Podcast. Okay. Grindhouse, what do you think?
Well, when it comes to UFOs, so through the nightclub, we are ambassadors to a film festival called Cabin in the Woods. Is happening in the Pacific Northwest, and we interviewed the hosts of that, Crystal and Lady Sasha, and Crystal had the absolute best line I've ever heard for any alien life, any UFOs, things like that. Things that would come by this planet and look at what we're doing, and they would lock their fucking doors and keep on going. Because I don't think that. I think we're at a point in our civilization where we don't have a lot to offer anything that would be out there, and they would just go by and just go, nope. So do I think the various UFOs, the USPs, the flying saucers, the whatever the hell, are probably out there? Yeah, I do. And I think, in the last few weeks, I think our government has finally sort of fessed up to the fact that they know more than we think they do. At the same time, with the 9/11 stuff, I think that it is such a profound moment in our history that I think it is just absolutely rife for conspiracy. And there gets to be a point where I have to balance what I know about the United States government against their ability to do things. So as much as I want to think that maybe there was something more going on, I also think that our government is so fucking inept that they probably couldn't pull off something of this scale, like as a conspiracy, as a reason to attack another country, as a reason to rile up Americans. I just don't think that we have the intestinal fortitude to even carry forth with something like that. So could there be an alien watching? Sure, there could have been. Do I think there was? Probably not.
Yeah, some of the photos, like Seth was saying, like it's VHS, it's very grainy. It's hard to tell, and especially since like AI has come out, how easy it is to just create anything. Shit, like some of the stuff that we've made here, Seth, some of the amazing stuff that you've done with just the voice stuff with Ronald Reagan and Jack Black with our stuff. It is hilarious, but it just kind of drives the point too, where we live in a time where it's very easy to fake something like that, and it's easy to find a VHS tape, make something grainy, kind of going by the tower, and then saying it is a UFO. But then also in the same token, you look at us as how we are as humans, and we study animals, and if there's intelligent life out there, we are those animals, and they would want to study us. I mean, it's the same thing, I feel like. But as far as the whole 9/11 UAP thing, probably not. I wish I could find the photo. I wish I could post it in there. Maybe after this conversation, I'll show you guys when I get more internet, not taking up the chat or whatever. I can show you guys what I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, of all the years that have gone by, like, like I'm in my room like scanning 4chan and like watching loose change documentaries. Like of all the time that's spanned, now they're talking about like they finally found like a UFO in one of those tapes. I would have felt like it. I would have at least heard about it, but at this point.
Well, Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say overall skepticism I think is healthy. I think you should approach everything with skepticism. There is a point where when you have 97 different angles of an airplane hitting a tower where you just have to go, yeah, that's what happened. Do you want to break down the whys and and who did what for what reason? Yeah, you can do that all day long. But there are some basic facts and a lot of this stuff, especially surrounding 9/11, it's like there's some basic facts I think now that are I think mostly indisputable. If you want to go into the who did what for what reason, I mean, I think you could talk that all day, but the basics of what happened. And again, I'm going to say, were there aliens watching? Maybe. Do I doubt it? Yeah. Can I say that it didn't happen? Nope. I can't. I wasn't there.
True. True. Well, I mean that one. That one topic. Does anyone have anything else that they want to add to that, or is
No, let's burn
that
it.
book
Let's
kind of
bury it. Yeah,
bury it?
done. I'm done with it.
That's,
All right.
that's pretty definitive. If they were watching, then they had previous knowledge. If they were watching, so therefore they're culpable.
Mm.
And they're technically criminal.
Well, I'll just say if I'm ever going to get probed, please use lube and go slow. I'm an amateur.
All right. The next topic that we have is the 500 BC judge. Now, going off the top of my head, I'm probably going to butcher the story, but what happened was that in the year 500 BC, there was a king who had a judge, and I believe what happened was that the judge made an unfair ruling, or he was corrupt in some sort of way. So the king ordered him that he be executed, and that he
Is
was
this the-
able to. Clark, you're nodding your head up and down. I think you know this, right?
Well, no, I was just thinking. I was wondering if it was the Brazen Bull story, but
The which story?
Brazen Bull story. But keep going.
Oh, it's not no, it's not the bull one.
Okay.
The king said that, hey, um, we're going to execute you because of what you did, but we are going to let you pick whoever you want to be the judge in your place. So the judge was like, okay, I want my son to be my replacement. And the king was like, okay, that's fine. You're going to be executed, and how you're going to be killed is by skinning. So what happened is that the judge was skinned alive, and then his skin was made into the chair that the new judge would have to sit on. So the son, so like as a reminder, the son had to sit in a chair of what his dad did, and that's how the king made a point to like always have fair cases. I cannot remember the king's name or who it was, but yeah, what do you guys think about? What do you guys think
I
about
bet that country had a very low crime rate. That's what I think.
I think now, and Grindhouse might debate me on this. I don't know if you probably, if anyone could probably contest me on this, but I think this is actually more of a sort of Damocles kind of story. So, like, it's the same thing of like the next person who takes the throne. So if you guys don't know what the sword of Damocles is, it's basically a sword that dangles above the throne, and basically a king should always be afraid because you never know who is going to try to take your throne from you. So it's a sword that dangles above the throne. So I think that's a similar story where if you're sitting on the throne of like the skin of your predecessor, you know, I don't know. Maybe this is a true story. I don't know any historical. I've never heard this story like being like 100% fact historically, but it seems like a sort of Damocles kind of thing where it's just like, you know, always be afraid when you sit upon the throne the sword is dangling above you and it's ready to kill you, basically.
Oh yeah,
I've never heard that.
I think you're right. I think to me the story says, uh, learn from the actions of the person before you and don't repeat those actions. I mean, it's that, especially with the chair and the son being the adjudicator of his father. And I I've heard this story before, so I did Google it quick, but I do know who we are talking about. Um, and first of all, I think the story is absolutely awesome, but I think that the after is it Sisymenes Sisymenes is flayed, and then his skin is made to into the chair of the next ruler. I think that is definitely one of those things where learn from the people before you and don't repeat their mistakes. Because the whole point was like he took a bribe, to influence a verdict on something, and it was like, so if you do that, guess what? There might be some punishment coming. So they trying to keep the judiciary pure and try to just have it be the deciding factor, but have it be pure enough of heart where it judges things on the facts of what is presented versus a preconceived outcome. I think is what the whole point of the story is. And if you read through it and you read about the son Otanes and how he becomes his dad's successor, and then basically and they talk about the chair. I mean, and to be perfectly honest, I want this chair in my house, and I want it in a corner, and I want anyone who is going to come into my house and tell me anything resembling a lie to sit in this chair and then rethink their position, because I think it's I I love the overall story. And to Seth's point about going into this country, they probably did have a pretty low crime rate, because taking a bribe results in you being turned into a chair made of human skin that is there to remind people to don't fuck around and find out. That's awesome.
Now, as the son, do you think you would, say like, all right, yeah, thanks for picking me to be the judge, but I don't want to do this job. Would you still take it?
As as a member of this society, yes, absolutely.
of
Because
the
it's
of the of this story society.
Yes, because it's your expectation. You're supposed to be, if a duty is handed down to you, your duty is to take that duty and to execute it, you know, as fair and as succinctly as you can. So yeah, I would do it. I mean, you're basically asking me if I would flame my father if he was a liar, and the answer is yes.
All right. Well, that's a
Sorry.
pretty strong statement. Yeah, no, that I mean that's a nice divider between topics. I like it. It's to the point. Watch out, Dad.
Watch out,
Well,
man.
Also,
mine
I
is
also like this in the context of like literature and fiction and pop culture, like Game of Thrones, like the Iron Throne. Iron Throne is kind of a similar, kind of symbol where it's like, it's made out of 1,000 melted swords, basically from dragon fire, but you know, it's still sharp, so it cuts those that are unworthy. That's like a rumor they have in that world. Like, oh, those that get cut by it are unworthy, and then so I don't know. I find that fascinating to think about. Like, you would have a chair that you have to sit upon, and you have a duty to do, but at the same time, your duty is actually represented by those who've lived before you.
Well,
So,
definitely that, but also he who shall lead shall bleed, because there is always sacrifice that comes with that. You don't get to sit upon a pillar and just be a god and have sunshine rained upon you to actually lead requires you to get down into the mud and into the sticks, and sometimes, if the situation calls for it, bleed. For the people that you rule, because you are a leader. And if you're not willing to do that, you're probably not worthy of being a leader.
Good point. Good point. Well, our next topic actually bleeds perfectly into what we were just talking about. Blood Boy. Now, what this is a man spends $2 million a year to reduce biological age by using his 17-year-old son's blood.
Brian Johnson, man. Oh yeah, all day, every
Oh,
day.
you know of this, Seth. Please
Yeah.
enlighten us.
I'm on Brian Johnson protocol, man. I'm on rapamycin, 7 milligrams a week, once a week. I'm on acarbose. I'm on low dose naltrexone. Like, come on. I'm on calorie restriction. I'm eating once every 48 hours. Like, that's how serious I am about this. You see this neckline? This neckline wasn't here the last time you were on. Anyway, Brian Johnson, right now, the whole blood thing, there's not a lot of measurement for it to be conclusive enough for him to continue. He was the first transgenerational blood, like what do you call it? Like basically donation. So it was him, his 17-year-old son, and his dad. So Brian Johnson donated his blood to his dad, and his 17-year-old son donated his blood to Brian Johnson. So it was the first multi-generational like blood exchange, but and there's proof that, I mean, it goes back to the old study where they sewed the two mice together. There was an old elderly mouse and there was a younger mouse. They sewed their skin together, basically making them effectively Siamese twins. And then the older mouse started to become younger. It would display more youthful. The cells would be rejuvenated, less matty hair. Just basically became younger-ish, acted younger. So anyway, there's people doing that now in Silicon Valley, like Peter Thiel and all those guys. There's like this running joke, but it's all from like a thing. There's a thing called Blood Boys, which you just mentioned, where they get like a extremely young dude, same blood type, all that kind of stuff, and then basically they pay them an unreal amount of money to donate like several pints of blood a week or whatever, and then the old, rich guys will get blood infusions, and so they're getting this cocktail of young hormones, those cells and all of their the way that those cells signal aren't conducive to having a whole bunch of senescent cells. You're not getting inflammatory marker signals everywhere and increasing gray hair. It's actually the opposite. So you get your skin becomes tighter, you have more energy, hormonal functions better, a whole bunch of stuff starts happening. Brian Johnson put a pause on it because the blood results and data from him, it wasn't worth the investment to do it for him. Like getting everyone together, doing all the blood draws, and then doing it consistently just wasn't. It wasn't it wasn't cost effective for his protocol. So he's not going to continue. I hear that he may do a little bit more research on it, but right now it's not part of the current protocol.
Now, I might sound like an idiot, right? But how is it that your body's blood is somehow not like, if you're an older person, whatever, man, woman, doesn't matter. How is it that your blood that you're producing is not as effective as a young person's? What is in that blood that makes it, I guess, more youthful?
A bunch of things. As you get older, the hydrochloric acid in your stomach starts reducing. There a whole when your cells split, the telomeres shorten. There's less information being transferred to the new cell during that divide. So all the genetic information in your chromosomes, it's like making a copy of a copy of a copy. So the instructions that that DNA within the cell is giving the rest of the body or instructions for hormone production. All that data is being lost each time a cell divides. The telomeres lengthen, then those chromosomes start breaking apart, and then there's even more data degradation. The epigenetic, the readout, the way that when that cell transfers its information during the divide, the reading becomes messed up. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do to mitigate that. One of them is just have younger blood, because there's all of that breakdown in information is not occurring in a young body, and they're still producing hormones. The mitochondrial function is tip top. There's not since there's not as much damage, there's not as much senescent cells, like zombie cells that are neither alive nor dead, so they just kind of stay in this state, and then they secrete chemicals that cause further inflammation in other cells to spread senescence. So when you stop eating, for instance, it's long been understood about 72-hour fast, you'll start clearing senescent cells out, because the body goes through autophagy, self-eating. The real marker is probably between 4 and 5 days of a real fast, like 0 calories. Your body will prioritize damaged and dying cells to be cleared out and basically recycled and torn apart into new tissue. But yeah, that's all that's occurring, is that that loss of information and instruction is way less prevalent in a young body. You take that blood, all of those biomarkers, signals, hormones, everything is functioning at peak levels, and then it just is doing that job in the old body.
Could you not? So, from my understanding, the guy is just trying to maintain youthfulness, correct? Is that like the objective, or that's what the goal was?
Yeah, so there's there's basically the biological age. You can get on a roster. You can get you basically get a blood panel that you go fill at your local LabCorp or whatever. Pre-baseline, I'm biologically 22. My cellular function as that of a 22-year-old. I'm 34, and so that was my benchmark pre-longevity drugs. Because rapamycin, the Rapa Nui thing that we talked about, 4 out of 5 Rapa Nui agree, or whatever those
Mm-hmm.
Easter Island heads are. That is just a bacteria that they found in Easter Island that knocks out mTOR. So if you were to take it every single day, its original purpose was an anti-organ rejection drug. But if you take it in moderate amounts once a week, it inhibits mTOR, and mTOR is your signaling gene for cell growth. So if you want to live longer, you want to slow down your the rate in which your cells divide. And so stop like reduction of food, basic calorie restriction is one way of knocking out mTOR. You don't want to knock it out completely. Like they're taking so much rapamycin, like organ transfer people, that their lymphocytes are just so deranged that they don't understand that organ is a foreign body, and so they won't send like immune cells to kill it or stop it or whatever. So it works out for them, but they got to stay on that the rest of their life. If you're just taking it once a week, you're knocking out mTOR. What else does mTOR listen for? Insulin, so sugar. If you eat sugar, insulin surges, and then mTOR is activated, and further cell division. Calories, wounds, like if you get cell damage, mTOR activates, a whole bunch of stuff. But his main goal is to just slow down the biological clock, and he's actually proven that it can be reversed to a degree. His aim goal, like all the media does these headlines like he's trying to live right. He's not. Like there's an expiration date on the vessel, but his goal is to basically completely rewrite the definition of human lifespan and just push it as far as possible. That's all. Sorry, I'm really passionate about that. You couldn't have picked a better topic for me, Alex. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, with all of that being said, Grindhouse Clark, there's a lot to unwrap there. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are.
Okay, well, two things for sure. First thing is, Seth, I want to have breakfast at your table just to see what you all talk about because I bet it's fucking interesting in hell. Second thing is, if I gave you a plane ticket, would you come over and rub your balls on my Achilles and see if we can get it healed faster? Because I want to start walking normal. Because this boot thing is bullshit. Um, this is all very new stuff to me. It sounds like Seth really knows what he's talking about, and he's definitely deep into this shit. Um, I'm not gonna say I have an opinion one way or the other because I think we find out new things every day, and sometimes it takes some people that are out there to find some new things. And from everything that I've just Googled, these people are what I would define as out there. But I'm not going to say that they're wrong because it might be 1 year or 2 years from now that they're like, "Hey, by the way, Fountain of Youth in a bottle. You want to buy it?" And I probably would. So, yeah.
And my entire thing is I can't say too much on it because telomeres and shortening of telomeres is kind of the crux of the screenplay I'm writing right now. So I can't really say too much on it because I don't want to give away a lot about how that actually affects our actual chromosomes and what actually humans might look like in the next next few
Can I have
generations.
a star? Can I have a starring role as the old guy? Just asking. Just put in
Yeah.
a good word now. So, okay. I'll be
Ground
the old.
floor.
Can be
I'll be the
modified.
old guy, and Seth can be the younger me because we basically had the hair would work.
Hey.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah,
just
yeah.
saying.
No.
Okay.
Everything he said there, though, I don't. Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna talk about a lot. So because it's kind of the crux of the book I'm writing. So there we go.
So therefore,
Okay.
everything I said is correct.
Not everything, but nuclear chemistry and is kind of the crux of it. And yes, and definitely how telomeres work and what we are going to be evolutionarily and what we can actually, now that we've mapped the human genome, what we can actually uh, tamper with and what we can affect and what we weren't able to tinkle with, I guess, in the past. It's kind
Question:
of yeah.
What is the worm? What is the worm that was like the first one they mapped the genome out, and it's considered like the most simple genome, and to where they have every single function you can put on a blackboard. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a very specific worm.
No, but it's
Okay.
what they. It's pre Dolly. I don't even know if Grindhouse probably remembers Dolly. I think he's in
Oh,
my
the
age.
sheep. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yep, Dolly the sheep. Yeah.
yeah,
And they cloned her and everything looked great, and then she went and fell
yeah.
over, and because she artificially aged.
And it
So
was but
Well,
they basically go
I
ahead.
didn't
no,
know
it's
that
just
that was her demise. I knew that they cloned a sheep, but I didn't know that something immediately happened later on.
No, it didn't immediately happen. She just, I
no,
mean,
it wasn't immediate, but she aged faster than she should have aged.
mhm.
She because she had offspring, she did all that, but she should have lived to the quote unquote ripe old age, and she didn't. So,
Mm.
It was
and I
very
and
brave. It was very brave new world, and
well,
we
somebody
had
had to do it. I mean,
yeah, but I just think it's hilarious that it was Brave New World before there was Brave New World. Like,
well, I mean, even now, people are talking about bringing back what is it called, the thylacine? They're talking about bringing that back, and it's like apparently they have the DNA to do it, and it's like from my chair. And let's be honest here, I'm a very grounded, died in things, like just things are what they are. But there's also this big piece of me that's like, sometimes you have to try things. and I understand that it might result in less than stellar outcome, but the reality of the heart transplant, the kidney transplant, cancer treatment, sometimes there were less than stellar outcomes. So you got to try shit, and we don't all have to be comfortable with the outcome. Sometimes shit happens that we all go, oh, well, fuck, I wish that didn't happen. But you can't have a good outcome until you have 75 bad outcomes. That's just how things work. That's how evolution of treatments and evolution of just, well, fuck, evolution of everything. That's how it happens. You go from
sometimes you got to shoot a man in space. And sometimes they don't come back.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you have to have that hold my beer and watch this moment. Otherwise, you don't ever have anything good. And on scientific terms, there's probably not a whole lot of hold my beer and watch this. It's probably, hold my pocket protector and watch this. But it's the same thing, though. You have to try, and I don't think failure has to be remarked on as some colossal failure. It has to be remarked upon of, well, that's one thing that didn't work. Let's try the next thing.
Yeah. Got a lot of failures before you get a
Wow.
Well, each one of us here talking is a failure before success, just for the record. Remember that.
That's true. Speaking of failures, until they make success, is Gordon Ramsay. This is not a topic that's in the Fishbowl by any means. This is just I'm remembering this, but my wife likes to watch Kitchen Nightmares, and she was telling me that he had a bunch of restaurants, and it wasn't until like he was like in his 30s or 40s that he actually became successful as a culinary chef, or I mean, I don't know if he describes himself or that's what he's classified as, but as a chef. So yeah, he had a lot of failures, had a lot of restaurants go down until he finally made it. So yeah, not necessarily the same realm as like scientific, working on people, but yeah, you see a bunch of failures and then he finally succeeded. So
Oh, but I would say it's the exact same thing. It is one experiment after the next until you get it right. That's what it is. Everything, it doesn't matter if you're selling a car, selling a pair of shoes, selling a beer, whatever else. It's one set of experiments after the next until you get it right. And Gordon Ramsay is a giant fucking prick, but he's also got a presence that's really hard to ignore. You can't ignore his. My wife makes me watch the same shows, dude. I have to watch more Kitchen Nightmares and Who's Going Out This Time, and but I mean at the same time, he has a presence, but I think he's honed that over time, right? I don't think that he was the same bastard that he was 20 years ago, or well, maybe he was, maybe 25 years ago he was a different bastard, but he's got a thing where he's kind of like a car crash. You really can't look away. You have to slow down and take a look. And that's to get into a certain people's zeitgeist and to be so prominent that you can't help but look. That's something special for him. It really is.
I think it's actually similar to the fact that he has a sports background and also now he has kids, and you have to factor those two things in because he is very good around kids. Whenever you see him do like Junior Master Chef, or if you see him do any kind of like YouTube stuff with his own kids, like he is a very, very fatherly figure, but he has an athletic background, and that's also into his cooking. So he's aggressive when he's like a head chef, and he's aggressive as an athlete, but at the same time he's very gentle with kids, and he's able to actually like be kind of like kind of a fatherly figure and just kind of guide and things like that. So
maybe, but I also think he is a master of disguise, because you're right. When he does the things with well, because when he has his grown-up chef show and then he has his kids come on, he's very nice to him, but there's a piece of me that is very aware that he's whoring his children for his TV show. But then you see the things he does with kids, and he seems to be super nice. I mean, it's like in my house, like if we go outside and we're grilling on my deck and whatever else, it's a running joke, and it's like it's time to test the temperature or something, and someone goes, "It's fucking raw." I mean, so it's like everybody knows that, you know. So he has become part of the zeitgeist, whether we want to believe it or not. It is absolutely there, and everybody knows it. There's not someone who's going to go, "I don't know what you're talking about," you know. So that's his brilliance, though, and it took him a lot of years to build that, but he has built this persona that everyone knows and everyone either loves or hates, but either way you're going to watch. So that's fucking brilliant. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
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 That's fair, yeah.
I think that happens with like a lot of celebrities. They have to find that, or like it's almost like the public pushes them into a persona in a sense. I think that happens to a lot of people.
Well, I think it depends on who you're talking about, because there's a lot of celebrities, like, let's use the Kardashians, for example. They're all dickheads. Every single one of them is a fucking dickhead, and we all know it. The women think they're pretty, and they're not. The one man that used to be there was kind of a sideshow character, but we all kind of understood his role. But these are not people that on a daily basis I would welcome into my home. I would fucking lock the door and go, "Get out of here. I have no fucking time for you," because they're all assholes. And they're all assholes because they're affected. Now, do I think Gordon Ramsay is a little bit of an asshole and a little bit affected? I think he is. But I also think that he could stand beside me in my kitchen and go, "You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong." And I think he'd be fine with that. And there's a piece of me that would be fine with that too. So he has a different thing about him, where he's a dickhead, but he's personable, but he's also somebody to be feared. He's got a really interesting thing built up about him, where I like if he showed up at my house, my wife would fucking cream her jeans, and then she'd go to the fridge and then she'd put out a bunch of ingredients and go, "We're gonna cook." So that's what she would do, and it would be fantastic. So it's a different thing. There's love or hate Gordon Ramsay, love or hate him, you really can't hate him. Like, he has that persona, but you really can't hate him. So he's done something that I think is incredible in what we call this big biosphere of the human experience, and moreover this celebrity human experience, where he's definitely a celebrity, but at the same time he also feels like a little bit like your mother who would come up behind you and smack you in the back of the head and go, "You're doing it wrong." And I can't help but love him. I can't help but love him.
All right. Well, I know we kind of got off a little bit of topic there with the man who uses young blood, but are there any final thoughts between that, Gordon Ramsay, anything before we move on to the next topic?
Jeez, should I even go into Elizabeth Battery about the young blood stuff, or should we save that for just a whole episode?
Say what you
man.
need to say.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Battery? Yeah, she
Yeah,
bathed.
I'm gonna time out because I have a quick comment, and then I want you to go. Though that guy has what might be the creepiest fucking Instagram ever. Don't ever go on his Instagram. I just did, and my life is never gonna be the same. So
Who?
don't. Oh yeah, ew. Oh yeah, it's
No. Who?
The young blood guy.
Oh, Brian Johnson?
It is fucking creepy as hell. It is.
I think it hurts
I'm
Seth's
following.
feelings.
Yeah, I'm like.
It's. I'm not judging. I'm just. Well, I'm judging a little bit. Yeah, I am. But I looked at his Instagram and I was just like, is there parental controls here? Because I'm pretty sure even I shouldn't be looking at this. So
Okay.
it was weird. It was weird for me. Like, that's a lot of father and son touching each other weirdly things. So, but that's just me. No.
I know what picture you're talking about. I know which picture you're talking about.
Tell me you don't see it. Like,
I
wow.
just thought when he posted that, I just had a chuckle. If you watch his videos, it just makes sense. It just that whole family is hilarious. I just thought it was hilarious.
Well, and there most definitely probably is a context thing to it, but when you see it just out of the blue, you
Yeah,
just go,
all right, fair enough.
oh, holy
Absolutely.
shit.
Who's Brian Johnston?
Like,
Oh.
oh, yeah, like somebody that the one picture is like a somebody should call the cops picture. It really is. So, but again, just me. But I get it. Out of context and whatever else, it's just like it was a
I get
little
it. No, I get it.
shocking. Let's just call it.
Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What were you gonna say?
yeah, back to the. I mean, I was just throwing out like Elizabeth Bathory. So, as far as the blood countess thing, that might be a future episode, I guess. We probably don't need to get too deep into it now, but people that think that bathing in blood increases their youth. That's not not like a new concept. So
okay, all right. Well, yeah, maybe we can cover that more in depth in a different episode. We can move on to the next topic, which is the giant penguins in 1940. Are you guys aware of this?
No, I'm not.
So, in the 1940s, there were found to be giant penguin footprints along numerous beaches. So, for a couple of years in the 1940s, no one knew exactly like what was going on, but they knew that they were penguin footprints. So everyone assumed that there was these giant penguins roaming around on these beaches, but they just could never find them. Years and years later, a guy comes out and says that, yeah, I was the one who made it. And he has these special boots that were made that have giant penguin feet on the bottom of them. And he said that he would go to different beaches at night and just walk along these beaches and just fool people. For years this went on. I thought that was pretty good. I thought it was kind of funny. But I think it brings up a good point too, and we've said it many of times. It's just it kind of reminds me of like the crop circle thing, right? Where it's like you want to believe, you want to think that something spectacular that could be true, but then it just turns out to be just guys with boards making designs in the field. Same thing with this. People wanted to believe that there was these giant penguins. Just turns out it's just some guy. What are you guys? What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's funny? Do you think it's? What do you guys think?
I think it's hilarious. I love that level of taking your troll craft. I'm gonna how many years do you know, like the full span, like exactly?
I want to say that it wasn't till the 70s that is when he like kind of came clean with it. So it was like all like years and years that he was doing this, just trolling people.
that
I just
seems
love
like
picturing
that
him
seems
with
like a
the shoe
golden age.
waddling.
Like that seems like the golden age of like faking stuff because the doctor's photo from like Loch Ness, that was about the same time.
Wait, which photo?
The doctor's photo from Loch Ness, like the most famous Loch Ness monster photo.
Oh,
Where,
yep.
yeah, that, and then like, I don't know. I'm weird about the Patterson Gimlin photo or video, everything like that. That's still, a little bit up in the air, but has been kind of, people have come out and said that's fake, but things like that. It's just is like, I don't know. It seems like that's the golden era of faking cryptid stuff. Is like the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, kind of like what I had said at the beginning of the show too, is that I find that it's really easy nowadays to fake a photo, especially with AI and how realistic it can get. Um, I think it was easier, maybe in the sense to, fool people. Like I feel like there's so much stuff coming out, and Grindhouse, you kind of said it, I believe too. Maybe it was before the show, was just um like how like Congress is talking about this and like UFOs and like no one cares. Like it's so weird to think that if this happened 50 or 60 years ago and you said, "Hey, Congress just said that aliens are real," everyone would lose their shit. But nowadays it's just like, "Yep, yep, aliens are real." It's just so weird.
It is. It is. Yep.
Well, and that all goes to people's penchant and ability to accept what they see, right? And 50 years ago, what people saw was on the 4 channels that they had available on their TV, you know, versus now you can be saturated with information. And the saturation of information is what makes something real. It isn't whether it's actually real or whether it's even believable. I could put an Instagram or a tweet or something out about me having a 14-inch penis, and if I got enough people to follow it, within a week, I would have a 14-inch penis. Now, is it
That's
real?
true.
No, it's not. I only have a 12-inch penis. But I could, if I wanted to, extend the truth, pun intended. Um, but that's the whole thing. It's we're subjected to so many things and so much information, and I don't it's funny. I think our ability to get information has exceeded our mind's ability to capture the information and actually make good and rational decisions about the information.
Mhm.
So, in in the absence of that, in the absence of any real ability to collect, collate, compile, and analyze data, because people are not good at that anymore. Your your average person on any given day is a moron, and it, the reality of taking in information, it comes via Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and whatever else. And so I don't think people, to be perfectly honest, even bother to assess whether what they're seeing is real or not, whether it makes any sense or not, whether it has any application to their daily life or not. They just go, "Well, I saw it on the internet, it must be real." So beyond that, they don't bother. And that's why I think something like all of us seeing on the news, and by news I mean news websites or TikTok or whatever the hell else, that hey, the government finally admitted that they have alien life forms in a jar somewhere. We're all just like, I saw that Independence Day. Sure, why not? You know,
Yeah.
that's why there's no uproar. People are just like, sure, you know. People don't think about the implications of that, the true implications of it. Like if somebody in a warehouse somewhere has a dead alien body, the implications are fucking huge. But I don't think anybody bothers to even comprehend why it's huge.
I think also too, and we had talked about this many of episodes too, and it was Clark who had brought it up with is that we essentially have like survival on lockdown. And now it's just come down to like, luxuries and everything. And it gets to the point where it really is something where it's like, yeah, we don't think of the implications because it really doesn't concern me. Like I'm worried about getting to the coffee shop, and it's I think it's really tough too, with a society that we live in where it's you read one article or like there's been examples of this where it's like, okay, there's a picture, but one news group is saying this and then the other news group is saying this, so it's like you as the person reading this, you have to like like what you were saying, Grindhouse, is you have to depict what is true or what is fact, and sometimes the person writing that doesn't give that to you, and it's one of these things where I think we live in this world where yes, TikTok, Twitter, our attention spans are so like they're so quick, they're not there. It's the same thing with like try to like get this podcast out there. How can we get people's attentions? Well, we have to have something within the first 5 to 10 seconds to grab people's attention to the show, and it's so hard to do that. And it's sad that that is what we've kind of come to as a society. And I think we're all kind of guilty of it too. It's like we're all, we always like strolling, killing time and everything. But yeah, I mean, I would agree with what you were saying, Grindhouse, 100%.
Well, I don't think people are interested in thinking anymore. I think they're interested in being told.
Yes.
Like I know from my discussions, I know both Seth and Clark are interested in thinking. Now, it does not have to be thinking that goes along with everybody else's thinking, but they're interested in thinking. So I think that's what makes your podcast, to me, interesting. I'm starting to scroll back through your stuff and I'm like, these guys talk about some interesting things. But from the first time I chatted with you guys, and it was like, then like, here's this next one, and we're going to talk about the Bronze Age. And my initial reaction was like, why? Why would you do that? And then it's like 2 days beforehand, I started to do some research. I started to look at some things, and I was like, this is fucking interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
that's why. Okay. But so I'm as guilty as anybody else as being a fucking goldfish bowl sucking simpleton that is just like, I just want to absorb things and I just don't really care. I hope that I don't do that all the time, but I'm probably as guilty as anybody else. But I think that's really the point, is like, we've reduced our society to a bunch of zombies that just want to take in things like TikTok and Instagram and whatever else. And admittedly, some of it can be interesting and can kind of be fun, but it's like, what are you taking away from it? And the only thing that I can think of is that people are taking away from it is being included. And it's like, for me, being included isn't enough. Like I want to learn something. Like from both talking with Seth and Clark, I've learned things from both of you. I have. And that's why I appreciate talking to you. And I like being challenged, and I like being put in a place where it's like, well, fuck, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to have to dig into this, and I'm going to have to educate myself. Because, when it comes down to our society and the people that are in our society, and me, I'm actually a diehard fan of the philosophy that our society will eventually fold. I'm a big fan of that. But I also think that with the things that I've done for my life, the things that I've learned, I think I will survive longer than most, And I had this fun vision of me and Seth and Clark one day meeting up in the woods, and assuming that one of us doesn't shoot the other one, that we'll have some knowledge to trade. And I hope that our society can get back to that point where it's more basic, it's more about survival, and it's more about, okay, you're in my circle now, but you better have something to bring to the table. Where right now, what people have to bring to the table is their latest Instagram photo or whatever else. And that's all fine as a distraction, but it's not a way to live life to me. I'm very much a realist, and I understand that every day that we live is just a series of distractions until we die. I get that. Okay. But I want to take in as much as I can before I do.
Well, Grindhouse, you are totally invited to my survival camp whenever the world ends.
Well, we should make a flag or a patch or something.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at me through a scope, you go, "Oh, I know that guy." Yeah.
There we go.
Because I don't want to get shot from 500 yards because I'm hunting a rabbit. You know what I mean?
I will get on that today.
Let's do that. Let's have a end of the fucking world survival patch. We should totally do that.
All right, this is happening.
All right. If you're listening to this episode, we are taking ideas for patches. So you can go ahead and email them to us at podinfo2022@gmail.com. Yes, the email I know is very kind of weird. We created the email before we had the show name. Just bear with us on that one. But yes, Grindhouse, that's a great idea.
Oh, Alex, could you remind the listeners to call in on our new number and leave a message?
I would love to. I just don't remember the phone number.
It's on my other laptop. I don't know how to find it. Hold on.
All right. Well, all right. If you are listening, to this, go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. It is on one of our thumbnails to our actual video and everything like that, with the actual phone number that you can call in with anything. We're not even done with the show yet, but that's just a little shout out right there. We do have time for one more topic, and I do know that you guys know of this lady, and her name is Tiffany Gomez.
Is this the toxic lady?
The what lady?
The toxic lady?
The toxic lady.
Yeah.
This is the airplane. This is the airplane lady, right? That went mental on the airplane.
Yep.
Yeah. I see this. See, as much as I can be a fan of fuck around and find out, there are times when you are a person out in society where the only thing you have to do is sit down and shut the fuck up, and it isn't that hard. It just isn't. We all have those moments where we want to go fucking bananas. We all have, but it's like for me, and this I think there's at least a couple of people here that are going to understand. The societal contract demands that I don't flip out in certain situations, and being on an airplane, which I think I honestly believe is one of the most stressful things you can do. You are packed into a metal tube like fucking cattle, told to sit in a specific spot, sit down, be quiet, we'll make you as comfortable as possible, but by the way, you might die. It's one of the most stressful things ever. So, like, as a person, if you can't survive through that, you're probably not meant to be a productive member of society. And if somebody escorted you off the plane and shot you in a back room in the airport, I'm kind of okay with that.
So here's the interesting thing about this woman too, is that not only did she make a scene, on this airplane, but people are digging into like her whole situation, like the whole conspiracy threads on Reddit are just going wild with her right now. So apparently she has a marketing website or some sort of website where she does, I think, like I'm not exactly sure what. I think it's like, you know, she has like her own little business, right?
Is
Or
it
whatever.
multi-level marketing?
I want to say it's something like that. Like I do. I can't remember off the top of my head. Nevertheless, people are looking into the website's like IP address, the servers that which they're coming from, and they're all coming back to like really weird locations and um just shit like that. I have the videos of what I'm talking about. The guy who actually is like digging into this. One of them is that it's like a server that's in the middle of a lake in Kentucky or something. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, why, like, what is going on? And then another one is that she like this server that she's using is in a government building. Like it like he zooms in on it on Google, and like he's like, that's a military base, that's like a military thing. It's like that is government shit right there. And then people are even saying that the woman who was like on the plane is dead, and now it's an actress in her place doing all of this. It's the weirdest thing, but yeah, the whole story is still kind of like unraveling. Even though that happened months ago, it's still
We need to do an update. Like in a couple months, we need to check in on this because this is actually fascinating. At first, I was like, "Oh, she's probably just has left her VPN on," but like the middle of a lake.
Yes, like I said, I will drop the links to these videos in the podcast whatever in our Discord, so everyone can go check them out. Stuff across the internet. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's not just some crazy lady on a plane who's like, oh, they're not real. There's more to it than just that. It's pretty wild because that's what I thought it was
I
too.
love
Was
it.
like I thought it ended there, but it didn't. Like people are digging into her and what she's all about, and it just gets crazier the more you dig into it.
Oh man, getting to the conspiracy roots. I love it,
Yep, yep.
man.
Well, that's the fun with conspiracies, though, and like I said before, a healthy skepticism about what's going on around you, I think, is a good thing. Um, I don't generally subscribe to most conspiracies just because, to be honest, I just don't have the time. Um, but if so, like the VPN in the middle of a lake thing. Well, so I live in Minnesota, right? So this is literally the land of 10,000 lakes. For there to be a repeating cell phone tower in the middle of the lake is not an odd thing. That actually does happen. So that's not super weird to me. But if she's supposed to be dead and now there's an actress taking her place, I wonder if she at one point either was associated with or donated to a Clinton campaign, because I think that might have something to do with it. Because a lot of their associates have committed suicide by shooting themselves in the head 5 times. So
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe that's what she checked the wrong box on the donation form and she donated to the Clintons and that's what happened. Maybe,
Maybe.
possibly,
I love it.
but I don't know. We'll see.
Clark, any thoughts?
I've watched like a lot of videos on this, and see some funny videos of people being like, "Oh, I was that guy on the plane," and you see all these like weird things. But I've seen other people that seem to be kind of legit that say like, "I was here, and this is what I saw during the thing," and they were like, the guy was being weird and shifty and all that kind of stuff and they basically he wasn't saying anything and all. Like, I don't know what actually happened on the flight, but I've seen like the police body cam afterward and then all that stuff, and I didn't know. I don't even know if it's worth actually bothering this woman now that she's been identified, but maybe she just freaked out and it's a bad thing on a plane. So, but people are saying there's other people that are saying like, oh yeah, the guy was actually kind of weird, and even people are saying that he had like he blinked sideways instead of you know
Oh, now we're getting David Icke level.
yeah. That's what I said. There's other people that are saying that stuff, and I've seen like videos of that, and I'm like, I'm not gonna dive into that. So
Yeah, for everything I've seen, she comes off like one of those people who's like, "I'm pretty. Can't you say I'm pretty? Why aren't you listening to me?" And then as soon as it happens, I'm just like, "Where's my pickaxe?" I got no time and no patience. So
I just
you know what? Sit down, shut the fuck up, do your part again of the societal convention, the contract that we've all agreed to, even though you didn't know it when you were born. You signed the societal contract that said, I'm not going to be a fucking asshole in public. And just do that and just do your fucking part. Just get through. Go to the grocery store, go to the DMV, get on an airplane, and don't be a fuckhole
yeah.
while you're doing it.
That's actually the best description because my first cross country flight I ever had to do, I was that guy that probably was that weirdo because I was actually terrified and I just didn't want to be on. I didn't want to be on a 6-hour flight from the East Coast to the West Coast. Like so, I can
Well,
understand that, and I had that one person that was that girl that sat next to me, and she was just like, "Hey, what's up?" And she was just talking to me, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm fucking terrified to be on an airplane right now." Yeah, what's up? and she was just like, and there happened to be a baseball game on the on the like on the screen. She's like, "Oh, you like baseball?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like baseball." Just like, well, who do you think's gonna like win here? Like, it's like, and I'm not religious anymore at all, but if I ever had to believe that angels existed, it was that girl that just sat next to me randomly on a flight, like cross country, and she just sat down. She's just like, "Hey, what's up? You like baseball? What's up? You know, what do you think about that?" So I'm just like, "Oh,
Well,
like,
but that's the point, though. She adhered to the social contract. She
yeah."
adhered to it,
She
and
was
the
she was
social
down for it, and I was so terrified. But I would have been that weirdo that would have been like the weird.
Well, but
Batman
that's fine
hero.
though, dude. No,
I,
I get it, but that's
I would
totally
have
fine. But
had
that's
the
part of
weird
that.
blinking eyes.
Well, sure, okay, but that is still part of the social contract, and that
Yeah.
is when you see another person struggling, you reach out. However small, you reach out. That's part of the social contract. You don't try to get them kicked off the plane or do whatever else. You just go. You put your metaphorical hand out and go, here. That's
Yeah.
what you do. That's part of the social contract. And so much of our society right now utterly rejects the social contract. They don't want to put their hand out. They just want to take your hand into them constantly and just go me. That's what people do. And that's why our society is a writhing vat of human feces right now. So
Yeah. And
maybe that got too deep. Sorry, that
was
got too
10
deep.
years
Sorry.
ago. It was 10 years. No, I'm just saying that was 10 years ago for me. That person made a huge difference in my life because that was my first cross country flight. And they actually
Well,
like, yeah, made it easy.
well, and they will never know, and that is another part of the social contract. It is not about getting back; it is about giving.
Yeah.
So that is the social contract. Nobody wants to admit this. The social contract is a net loss every single time, but you have to be okay with that. It's a net loss. You're never gonna gain from it. You're gonna have to give a little bit to it, whatever the situation may be. You're gonna have to give, but that little bit of giving, that little bit of loss, is a plus for somebody else, and that's the social contract. But we don't live by it anymore. We just don't. And it disappoints the hell out of me.
Well, I am hoping that Clark, they are listening to this show right now so they know how much of an impact they made on you. And we're glad that you made it that flight safely. But with all these topics and everything, do we have any closing thoughts with everything that we covered, from the young blood stuff to the 9/11 UAPs, the giant penguins? We covered a lot of stuff. Any final thoughts?
I just want to
Holy fuck. That's my final thought. Wow.
want to cover on the Elizabeth Battery. It's got to be a follow-up episode. So
Agreed.
Be there.
All right. Well, hey, Grindhouse, thank you for helping us with this episode. We really appreciate you coming onto the show. It's always good to have guests. If you, the audience member, you enjoyed what you listened to, we got plenty of going on the social media. You can hit us up again. I already said the Gmail. If you're old school like that and you want to email us, feel free. Seth, were you able to find the telephone
I
number?
was, Alex, and glad you asked. So,
All right.
if the audience wants to ever give us a call, give us some good ideas for an episode, call us in at 615-307-1037.
And with that being said, remember that old saying that we have here: we don't want what's normal, we want stuff that's effing weird.
How do you feel? Well, sir, I feel like a slice of butter melting on top of a big old pile of flapjacks.